How you see yourself and how you speak about yourself is so important to creating the identity of the person that you will ultimately become, creating the future that you will ultimately desire. And it could go one of two ways. It could actually be the future that you want, the future of your dreams, the person that you always wanted to be, or it could be a nightmare of a future and the person that you never wanted to be. And you feel like you're trapped in a life that you don't want, in an identity that you don't want. Well, there's two words that are so powerful that can help you either create the future and the identity that you want, or create the future and the identity that you don't. And those two words are I am. And they are so powerful and they are so important to how you manifest the identity and the life that you ultimately desire. You see, science proved it, neuroscience explained it, and the Bible confirmed it. So if you want to change your life and you want to change your identity and you want to create a reality that you ultimately desire and a future that you ultimately desire as well, then you need to start identifying yourself with the power of I am in a positive way. And I am happy that this video is something that I've been dying to speak about, because it's something I put into practice myself and the results have been tremendous. So buckle up, because I am so excited to review this with you and help you all change your life forever with the power of two words, I am. When I first started researching and trying to gain more knowledge of just how powerful these two words I am are, I came across James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. And he had the feedback loop of identity. And that one really resonated with me, because I lived this so many different times in my life and I didn't even realize I did it. And what it says is basically that your identity creates a behavior that equals the evidence that is needed to create this new identity. So basically, a long time ago, when I was a teenager, I started working out with my father. And the reason I started working out with my father was, one, I wanted to spend more time with him. He had been going through cancer and I wanted to find something that we could do together. But also I wanted to get stronger. I wanted to get more confident. And honestly, I watched so much wrestling and different things on TV, and I just kept identifying with these guys that were huge and strong, and they always seemed to just never have anything bother them. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent here, but I wanted to be more like that, right? So I wanted to create this identity of a person who was healthy, who was muscular, who was confident, and who was sure of himself. And I felt like working out would do that at the same time, allowing me to spend more time with my father. And so what I didn't realize is that I was creating a new habit that was going to form this new identity of this person who is healthy and a weightlifter. Right? So my identity I wanted was to become healthy and to become a weightlifter and stronger and muscular. And, that's what I was ultimately desiring. So what I started doing was creating a habit by starting a new behavior. So this identity I already set, and the behavior was me going to the gym, every day or every other day with my dad and working out. That was the new behavior. Even getting in the car, going to the gym and entering into the gym was just enough to start this new rewiring of a behavior I was starting to form. And then the evidence was, as I'm working out, I could see my body changing, right? And what this did is it just reinforced this identity that I was ultimately trying to create. So for me, that was the perfect example of how this identity loop can really help change your entire life. But the first thing I had to do was form an identity and say, I am this person. I am a person who works out. I am a healthy person. I am a person who eats right. I'm a person who lifts weights. I am this identity. I am this person. And I had to visually see it in my mind and then take intuitive action to start creating it. And so it was interesting to me that as I'm reading Atomic Habits and I'm going through this whole concept, I have done this so many different times in my life. This is how I create a habit. But this habit that I create can form an identity. It can go both ways. This is also how you can form a bad habit, a drinking habit, a smoking habit, right? you start the behavior and you stay consistent with it, you have evidence that you become this person because you start needing alcohol and smoking more often, and you start taking action in it, and that forms your new identity that you are a smoker, you are a drinker. And so it can go any which way. It's just you got to use the power of the I am statement to form this identity in a positive light toward the thing that you ultimately want to become. So if you want to be a writer, you first have to say the statement, I am a writer, and form that identity. Speak it out loud. See yourself as a writer. Express yourself as a writer. Start walking around and speaking to people as if you're a writer. And then the behavior, right? That action that you're going to take, the behavior that's going to equal into the habit is that maybe you write a page a day. You just do something small to start the wiring process of creating this new habit, to start forming this identity. And as you do this daily, the evidence is there that you are a writer because now you have words on paper and you've been doing this consistently, repetitiously, to say that I am this person. And as you start doing this, you start forming the identity of the person you want to become because you're taking the steps of the behaviors and the actions toward creating that identity that you had already made the statement that you were. I am this person. And it's so powerful because as we speak it, we also start trying to look for different ways for evidence showing us that we are becoming this identity. So the other part of this is the neuroscience part with it, which is the reticular activating system. And I had talked about this on one of my previous episodes, but it's basically the body's your mind's filter, right? We can't process everything all at one time. There's going to be things that we're missing. So the brain has to know exactly what to look for the evidence of the things that are part of who we are as a person, part of our identity, part of the things that we say are important to us. So when I said that I am, a weightlifter and I am healthy and, I am somebody who goes to the gym, my next intuitive actions started taking place because I was starting to identify synchronicities of things that were coming to me or being shown to me that were helping me along the way. So now when I would go through and I would look at, different news articles and different things like that, the ones that would stand out to me were about health and different food related products that were good for building muscle. Like that stood out to me over anything else. When I was seeing ads for things online, I really just started, maybe the algorithm picked up, but I was starting to notice things for different gyms. But it wasn't even that. As I'm driving down the road, I started identifying gyms I had never seen before. They were really just starting to pop out at me. And I was starting to see billboards of things. Billboards I drove past millions of times. Not millions of times, but you know what I mean. And I had never noticed that the advertisement was about a different, like a weight set or something that related to me becoming this identity. You see, the reticular activating system shows you what is important. So when I speak, I am something, it's going to start showing me evidence of this statement. It's going to start showing me things that are going to help me move in the direction of that statement. But the problem also is when you don't do it in a positive light, you do it in a negative light, you start finding evidence of that thing that you ultimately are. So if you say, I am not confident, your reality is going to start forming, showing you evidence that you are not confident. You're going to be put in situations that are going to make you uncomfortable. And it's going to start showing you more and more that, okay, you're not confident. Here's evidence that you are not confident, right? If you are anxious, you're going to start having different things happen that are going to make you more anxious. You're just going to start seeing more reasons for the anxiety to kick in. If you keep saying that you're broke, you're going to start having things happen, or evidence is going to start showcasing itself that you're broke. Every single time you look at your bank statement, there's no synchronicities that are going to start happening because there's no intuitive action you're going to take to think that you can be unstuck from being broke. If you constantly say that word, like, I don't have any money, that'll never happen for me, I can't see myself ever in a social status like that, I'm never going to get out of this hole. Those statements are going to keep showing you evidence that you are there, because there's never going to be a reason for you to look for anything else that is going to help you out of that hole, because your body, your brain is not looking for it. You're not conscious to thinking that you can be more, so you're not going to look for anything as evidence to start helping you become more, if that makes sense. The words I am can absolutely change your life, because it changes the rewiring of your brain. It changes the way you see things. It changes the way you act. It changes everything. And as crazy it might sound, try it, because I have lived this myself. And when I started researching the power of the words that we speak and how we start living in the power of the words that we speak, especially within the I am statements, which is all over the Bible, there's tons of evidence of it, that power can make or break the future that you ultimately want as well. Because in order to have a future that you ultimately desire, you have to form the identity of becoming the person that you need to be to have that future. That is why we go through different hard times. That is why we have to overcome adversity in our lives, because without adversity, without being battle tested, we cannot be prepared for the identity of the person to handle the desired outcome that we have, that we ultimately want. Proverbs 19:10 says, "Is it not fitting for a fool to live in luxury, much less for a slave to rule over princes?" You see, we have to become the identity of the person for the life that we want, because there's no way that a fool, someone without the knowledge, someone without the experience, someone who's not battle tested in this life, someone who hasn't had to take risks and identify certain factors to become the person that they want to be for that next level of life, that more of a abundant type of life where there's responsibilities and you have to be a risk taker. If you're creating a business, you have to go through that identity change. You have to become someone completely different, and that change needs to happen with you creating the identity of that person, saying, I am confident, I am a risk taker, I delay instant gratification. It is a distraction. You have to start identifying yourself with these ideas of the type of individual that you ultimately want to be to create the life that you ultimately desire. One of my favorite verses, and one that is so powerful, is Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that statement to me, and I've said it, I feel like what is like every video, is so important and so powerful because it's so true. See, we get caught up in what society wants us to do. We get caught up in what other people expect from us. We get caught up in the comparison game. We look through Facebook and we see things of people doing things and looking so happy, and it starts making us reflect on what we currently have. Even though we probably have everything good, we want even more based on what we see, and we start playing the comparison game, and it puts us in that state of mind where we just don't have enough, and it starts the anxiety, and it starts the stress, and it starts the patterns of what we lack in this world based on the expectation of what everybody wants from us and everything that we see. And that state will ultimately give you the I am of, I am stressed, I don't have enough, I haven't made it, I'm not the person that I thought I would be at this stage of my life, I don't have the things that I thought I would have, and it's too late now, it's never going to happen, I'm never going to make it, I'm never going to make it. The I ams, they start forming in a negative pattern. But when you don't conform to the patterns of this world, when you don't conform to the comparison game, when you don't conform to what society is telling you that you ultimately should be and the things that you should be doing, you start realizing that you have more control and more power in this life than you could have possibly ever imagined. And God ultimately wants us to identify the fact that we have more power than we know right now. We have the power to change. He created bodies for us that can heal, that can grow, that can do different things, that can rewire our mental thinking, that can actually absorb information and gain knowledge. As long as we take these steps, the actionable behavioral steps that show us evidence that it's possible to create the identity of the person that we ultimately want to be. Mark 11:23-24 really expresses this in the most perfect way. So it says, "Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be taken up and thrown into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." It's faith. It's all about creating the identity of the person that you want to become, having faith, right? We hear about the law of assumption. Assume the identity of the person that you want to be, and assuming it like it's already yours, like your prayer has already been answered, like the gift of being a writer, the gift of being a singer, the gift of whatever knowledge that you are trying to obtain, or the identity that you want to be, that you already have it, that you already are this person because you have the faith that God is going to and has provided to you. It is yours. But it's up to you to take the behavioral steps and the actions needed to show you the evidence in this world that you are that person. And I promise you, if you start taking those steps, the identity will form, and the identity of the person will form for the future that you ultimately desire, because you will be ready for it. You will have gone through the steps needed, the education, the empowerment, every tool, every resource that you need. You will take action toward it, because as you create that habit, as you create these steps, they become easier and easier to where you're almost on autopilot and you just keep absorbing and wanting to know more, because you become so passionate about the identity that you truly want for yourself. Guys, this is awesome stuff. This is so powerful. If any of you out there are ready to make a change and you want to make a change, but you need the accountability and you need that extra step, or you just need someone to listen, hear you out, have empathy and understanding of where you are and take you to the next level, please reach out to me. As a life alignment coach, this is my passion to help other people improve their lives and just form the identity of the person that they ultimately desire so they can have the future that they want. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.